Everybody at Friesen said, this is the biggest contract we've ever had. We've never done a house this big and elaborate.
But when you have as large of a project as this, the amount of risk is just quite steep.
You could tell that the owner right off the bat, just from 10 seconds of looking at the plans, that they were going for the go big or go home mentality.
This is one that's a make or break. If you guys knock this out of the park, this is something that can make your whole careers.
I was raised in McKinleyville, so graduated from McKinleyville High. After high school, I couldn't move away far enough and fast enough, and wanted to go to a more metropolitan area. And for over 20 years, lived in San Francisco, New York, and LA. And then moved back about 10 years ago. My parents both taught up at Humboldt State. They were retiring, and I have a couple of sisters in the area, nieces and nephews, so I decided to move back and really have a new appreciation for the area. It was always a dream of mine to have a house in the Trinidad area. My first choice, second choice, and third choice was not to build. My plan was to find a place to buy. I was renting a place in Trinidad. I thought, okay, I'll rent for a year and I'll find a place to buy, and that's great, you know. And I ended up renting that place for 7 years. Someone knew about this property and about 4 years ago.
There she is.
I lost my tape measure.
It's right here.
Oh, you found it?
Is that it?
Oh, you're a blessing.
I think I left it on your truck.
On the tailgate of it?
In this one, or?
Yeah.
I secured the property in about mid-2020, and that was just the beginning of the pandemic. And then I just went into the process of, permitting, and I got an architect, an interior designer, and we just developed the plans.
He had a set of plans already drawn from an architect and had already been through the bid process, and he was going the road that, he was going the road of the dinosaur. It just doesn't work out. There was a disconnect between what was drawn and created and what it would take to build it, what it would cost. That is the case 90 to 100% of the time. So when tin came in, not only was it the old school way that usually doesn't work, but it was a behemoth of a project. So that just increases the inevitability of it dying on the cutting room floor.
It was pretty challenging at that time in terms of finding a builder, and also, the supply chain, was really, really challenging. I went through the process of trying to find a builder twice. My interior designer worked with Friesen, and she had recommended them because she had a great experience working with them on another project. And then I ran into someone at work who knew of someone who Friesen had built a house for them, and they were very, very happy with it. And so that's when I made the phone call to Friesen and spoke to Lane.
Tin Botzler left a voicemail for me and sounded like a lot of my leads do, and so I just gave him a call back, and he started to tell me about this project. I was both excited and pessimistic about it, because Tin's situation is if I were a doctor, I would say your chances aren't good.
We lost him. He's dead.
though it was a huge opportunity and I was excited and I loved the design and the project and the architect was great to talk to, because the project had already struggled and they couldn't get the price down, they couldn't get the right builder, I was pessimistic.
My whole motivation was just the beauty of that property, and I thought this is a once in a lifetime opportunity to build a house the way that I wanted on a property like that.
As much as I could apply our process to what he had, I did. I put it in our program so that we could get a little bit better of an idea of what it was looking like, what finishes would work, wouldn't work. And we just walked through the process and were able to get to a number that made sense for him.
They were coming in at like the end of the movie, if you will. And that's kind of how it all really started coming together.
Joey got on board with us when we had 2 custom crews going, and immediately he was well liked and did a good job. He cut his teeth with Friesen. He had some talent and abilities. In fact, funny enough, one of the first projects that Friesen ever did was building a large custom shop for his parents, and Joey was just a teenager running around on his skateboard, and lo and behold, you know, some 5 years later or so, he got his first construction job with us.
Seeing them, to me, the coolest guys in the world. You know, they'd show up and they had tractors and they had tools and they could like build whole walls and stand them up, and holy cow, they got a lot done in one day. And to me, that was my era of building skate ramps in my dad's barn. So for me to like look at my little measly tasks and see these cool guys like making this huge house, it was mind blowing. And them being the way they are, their culture and just their personalities, they involved me as much as what seemed appropriate. They would show me the tools and show me the tractors and explain stuff a little bit and just like inspire me like crazy.
Yeah,
Back up a little bit more.
Yeah. Give us a 12. Just
Back a little bit more.
How many Viltrakis dudes can you fit in one corner?
So I lived down in Rio Dell, and Nevin, Russell's younger brother, lived just like 4 houses down and across the street. And I was transitioning from college in Reading. Didn't work out there. I wasn't there to learn. I was there to like fart around, snowboard, and ride bikes, and just fell out of love with the idea of doing it. So I moved to Rio Dell, and I had built up a small cash reserve to just exist for a while, and was building a fence in the backyard because it had dogs. And out in Bloxburg, you can have dogs on 100 acres and they kind of are okay. You don't need a fence. In Rio Dell, you don't want that. And so I was building a fence in the backyard, and good old Nevin Friesen walks up one day, actually knocks on my door while I was inside taking a break, and was just, "Oh, Joey Viltrakis, what are you doing here? You're my neighbor now. You're building the fence. That's cool. What's going on?" And I was like, "Yeah, I don't really know how to, but I'm building the fence." "Yeah, I'm your neighbor. Hi, neighbor." And he goes, "Well, you want to come build houses with us?" And I was like, "Yeah, dude, that sounds really cool. Sure. How do I do that?" He's like, "Well, bring your tool bags and, you know, show up and we'll talk about it." And I didn't have tool bags at the time. Like, "Oh, tool bags? Like, I got a couple bags, you know, to put tools in them." So I was green enough that I didn't even know like what a proper set of tool bags was, and bought some, and then had to ask him, "What do you put in these things?" And he was like, "Don't you know?" Nevin changed my life in a way, because if he hadn't done that, hadn't like taken that leap of faith, I don't have a clue what I would have done, but it probably wouldn't have naturally been to go work for a custom home builder. You know what we would do if we were way more smooth-brained?
what?
Is have him drive as like angled to the wall as possible, and he could just drive backwards.
Well, that's what I thought we were gonna do, and then I saw my perpendicular to it.
Nope. I mean, yeah, totally told him.
Yeah, that's what we're gonna do the whole
He
time.
was supposed to.
Oh. I got a little close to the edge. Look at that. I mean, I've been here basically since day one. I mean, literally since day one of Viltrakis Design Build, previously Viltrakis Construction, previously No Name. It really started when Joey and Michelle invited us over for dinner. And I told them, I said, you know, I'd love for my mail route to be self-sufficient to where I can stand back and just manage it. And I've always wanted to learn construction. I've always wanted to learn how to build houses, work on houses and stuff. And at that point, Joey was working for Friesen Design Build. He said, you know, oh man, that'd be so cool if you came and worked with me. That'd be so much fun, because Joey and I had been friends for a handful of years.
I remember just going to Russell and being like, you don't even need to interview this guy. You have my word. He's a man's man. He's a solid dude. He like shows up on time, sober, not like a problem maker. Even in my talks with Russell, he was like, the minute I shook his hand, he's hired. Yeah. Like we just had to get through the formality of, oh, I guess we're interviewing and we're doing this, but he presents very well. He's a very good first impressionist and thoroughly, you know, continuing on to make a good impression, because that's just who he is. I'm so hungry.
I tried to get us pizza, but Holly's going south.
For the winter?
Yeah.
That's cool.
For the winter. Yeah. It's not winter time. It's winter in Australia right now, so she's heading south. Shortly after I started, Joey kind of saw the potential of like, oh wait, like Alex is picking up on this quick. He kind of immediately started kind of brainstorming like, oh, what if we did something together, you know, something like that. And it was just kind of, you know, down the road, like whatever.
I just let him know that's what I was going to do. I'm going to go pursue my license, and I want to go take a crack at it, do it my own way. I don't think that I'm better than Friesen in any sort of way. I don't think I'm better than Russell, smarter than him. I just had the itch to go do my own thing, see how I built a business and a house. When we spoke about doing our own thing, it truly was us doing our own thing, not us doing, you know, my thing with my business. In hindsight, again, like I said, like with the recklessness of it, is once I had the itch to go do my own thing, or we had the itch to go do our own thing, I feel like we pretty well pulled the rug out from underneath Russell. It was only a few months after him working there that we had our conversations, and then went into Russell's office together. It was like, hey, our mind is made up. We're gonna go do house flips.
We actually left Friesen at the same time. I'd only worked there for I think 3.5 months, and sorry, Russell. But we both walked into his office and said, Russell, you know, we were gonna be leaving and kind of doing our own thing. And he just, you know, he said, you know what? That's exactly what I did when I started my own company. I don't blame you guys. You guys are talented. If you guys ever want to come back, there's room for you. We love you.
That was nothing to us at the time, because we were excited. It didn't mean a whole lot to us to go have that conversation. I shouldn't say that, sounds mean. It wasn't a negative feeling to us. It was like the excitement of how do we tell him and not hurt his feelings, and, you know, tell him that we're gonna go do our own thing, expecting he won't be excited for us. But it wasn't like, oh man, we know this is just gonna crush him, because we were so naive that it was just like, we're gonna go do it, and yeah, he won't be excited, but he'll, you know, be sort of, you know, fatherly excited in a way. Looking back on it with Russell, we're both competent, Alex and I. We were on a crew of 4, being half the crew. We were a significant part of a 4-man team, and so for us to take off at the same time was a gut punch, and that's the phrase that Russell uses when describing it, and I totally relate to it, because when someone gives you that notice, you're just like, or even gives you notice of the conversation about the notice, and you kind of feel it. It's a gut punch, it hurts. Yes, I worked there for 4 years, but even from day one that I worked there, it was like old friends, basically. Like, oh, little Joey's grown up and gonna come swing a hammer, so.
We lost both those guys. That was a big blow. I actually was on vacation, I believe. And when I got back on Monday, Nevin came in and just said, well, Joey and Alex are gone. And I said, that's funny. And he's like, no, seriously, they're gone. What do you mean they're gone?